Welcome to the Pharos Fit podcast, where we help you to explore your capacity to move better, push further, and achieve your limitless potential through fitness, nutrition, recovery, and lifestyle. Hey guys, welcome back to the Pharos Fit podcast. Good to be back with you guys again. I am here today with, Emily Cavell, my beloved wife.
Hello.
Who's almost 30.
Almost 30. Yeah. I mean, by the time this hits, I'll still almost be 30. But by the time you're listening to this, I'm probably
You will
30.
be 30, yeah. And we're here with
Don't
Coach Lindsey today.
Hello.
Hey, Lindsey. Lindsey, how do you pronounce your last name?
Waguespack.
Waguespack.
Yes.
And where is that from?
It is German, but some like French interpretation of the name. I'm from Louisiana, so it got real Cajun-ified.
Did you have any fun nicknames as a kid in relation to your last name?
Everyone just was obsessed with it. Like they thought it was so random and so odd.
Exotic.
So they called me by my last name.
Waguespack.
Yeah.
Hey,
Especially
Waguespack.
like coaches and teachers.
Mm.
Yeah. Very like, they always
Yeah,
go by
strong
last names,
name.
but
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Lindsey is our flow specialist. She is our yoga specialist. She does all of our flow classes here. She kind of manages that side of things. So we're going to be delving deep down the kind of yoga rabbit hole today.
And repair. She also teaches
And repair, yeah.
just as many repair classes.
Yeah,
as
that's
yoga.
true. That's true. But I want to start with just kind of like introducing you, Lindsey. Like you said, you're from Louisiana, so we want to know more about that, where you're from, how you started this journey, how you got into fitness, why yoga became your kind of thing to begin with, and where that's gone from that point. So who are you and where do you come from? Tell us about yourself.
All right. How much time do we have?
All the
Much time as
time
you
you
want.
need.
Yeah, so I'm from Louisiana. I pretty much grew up just like loving movement. I was a dancer from the age of 4 all until end of high school, and then did some more dancing in a musical theater setting later on in college. And I also did cheerleading in high school, more gymnastics style.
So rhythm. So your whole life has been rhythm. I love that.
Yeah, and then I wanted to like mix it up one year, so I did track and field. And
How'd you find that?
it was really fun. I think had I done it earlier, I would have stayed with it longer. I did triple jump, but they only put me on that, I think, because like long legs, and they just never had anyone
Right.
on the team to ever do triple jump. So they're like, we'll put you there.
Right, you're a dancer.
Yeah.
You can leap.
Yeah, I was like, sure. It was really challenging and really fun. And I only placed in one race because there were only actually 3 people that showed up. So I got 3rd place.
Great.
Just
Bronze,
my default.
right there.
Amazing.
But it was cool. It was like in the newspaper.
I think about
That's so good.
that with Wyatt, though. Like, just pick the most random fucking sport you can find
So he
that
can
nobody
excel.
does, and then you can easily be like among the best in the world.
But what
Exactly.
a glass half full mentality too, because all this great stuff happened, like you were in the newspaper and all that. So it literally turned last place into a trophy.
Placed,
Yeah,
yeah.
it turned into a
podium.
trophy.
Suddenly
So yeah, it
podium.
was just a fun experience, and I was happy to do something that was just unique into what I had been doing. And then this is the first round of college. I was studying interior design and kind of fell off of fitness, apart from some like long-ish distance running. Then got back into it whenever I moved to Los Angeles to study acting. So I was doing musical theater, dancing, and then whenever acting became just too stressful, I found yoga.
Did you find yoga as a means to deal with the career of acting? And then you're like, wait a second.
Kind of. It was a thing where me and my roommate, hot yoga was all the rage at the time.
It really was.
So-
I can imagine this too, because I got in the rabbit hole of hot yoga as well.
Yeah, and I had never, the only yoga I had done prior was on P90X.
Right.
Yes.
That is yoga and P90X?
So ridiculous.
Yes, of course
There's
it is.
one
Yeah.
yoga learned how to do crow pose, like all felt good about myself and whatnot.
Yes.
And then me and my roommate at the time were just wanting to try hot yoga. And so I Yelped it. And there was a place that just opened about a 5-minute walk from our apartment. So we went, fell in love with it. I was doing that consistently at first, like 7 days a week.
Oh, wow.
And which I do not recommend anymore.
I now honor my limits.
Yes.
What was it about? Like, why did it immediately ignite this fire that was like 7 days a week, all in, let's go? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so I think the kind of gap between high school and that time where I was really craving more of that dance-like movement. There was a gym in my apartment building, and I had tried going there, just like doing random stuff, and I just wasn't feeling fulfilled by that. And so whenever I had my first yoga class, it's like, wow, this feels so good to just move, and very similar positions to some of the dancing positions.
And how much of that was like what you were doing, and how much of it was that you were in a group environment again and it was fun to do with other people?
Exactly, yes. And that's like the other big thing that I don't think I realized until later on in life, how key group exercise is.
Or just group in general.
Yeah, community. Like
musical theater, have to do it in a crew.
I was severely craving family.
Yeah.
I had been out here a year, and I don't think I realized how much I was missing that connection to just other people.
Yeah, and I think that's the word. I think the connection is the word, right? Because you're connecting not only to your body through the yoga, but you're also connecting to all the people that are there and the space and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I mean, just learning so much about that, about connection, about how to connect to myself, how to cancel everything else out, be okay with stillness and quiet, and how to translate that into connecting with other people.
And why, just for the kind of ignorant yoga people like me, why hot yoga over regular yoga? What?
I mean, at the time, just because it was popular.
Right.
And to be honest, as I started practicing, and even after I started teaching, I had other instructors that taught not in the heat, who I just learned a lot from, and I loved taking their classes. And after I started practicing not in the hot room, I personally felt more benefit to that from myself. And I think that has to do with the fact that I'm already so flexible, and so mobile, that the heat is just a little too much for me.
Right. But do you think, but for someone like me, or for people who are less mobile than you, do you think the heat actually helps us get into position?
Yeah, it does two very specific things where it makes you more like mobile, and you like warm up more quickly so you can get into the positions. But I think what you have alluded to was like the hype, or like the performance aspect of it. It makes people feel like it's a workout as opposed to like, oh, I'm gonna, like, am I even gonna sweat? I remember like thinking that when I went to a regular yoga class, because I too started in hot yoga, and you kind of have to break away from that idea of like more sweat is better.
Exactly. Yeah, so exactly what Emily said, the heat, especially the heat that we used at the studio I was teaching at, it warms your body up from the inside, very similar to how sauna would do. So you're getting that blood flow sent to the muscle tissue, which is exactly what you want to feel warm whenever you're starting to exercise. So your body heats up way faster. That's going to allow the tissue to stretch more easily. And then the heat is going to increase your heart rate real fast. You're getting a workout.
I feel like the first 15 minutes, you're like, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. And then something happens and you're like,
yeah, you're sweating from every pore in your body.
Yeah, I mean, because I obviously I went to a few of Lindsey's classes in the hot yoga thing, and I thought I was kind of like, I went into it thinking, oh my god, I'm gonna seriously struggle here. But because I think I went in with that attitude, I was okay. I got through it, but it was very challenging for me, obviously, because I'm terrible at that stuff. But I think if you go into it thinking, oh, this is gonna be easy, you're in trouble. But if you go into it thinking this is gonna be hard,
You're prepared.
then you're kind of mentally prepared. Yeah.
But I think even without the heat, I think there's that idea of yoga's hard, you know, and especially since people don't necessarily give themselves the freedom to lie down in shavasana the whole time or do do your own thing. Let this be the permission, you know, they feel like they can't take that permission. So then they're like, oh, it's just too hard. I can't do that stuff. I can't get into those positions.
Yeah,
Well,
it's one or the other. It's where you have people who think that, oh, that's so easy. Like, it's not going to be a workout. It's not going to be challenging. I won't get anything out of it. And then you have the people who assume it's going to be difficult or say it's going to be difficult only because they have not been introduced to learning how to be still and be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we'll go more into this in a bit, but it is very, very much like a lot of us, I think, that are like, go, 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 go. Like, I want to do action, action, action. And then when someone says, no, I need you to be still, like we feel like almost uncomfortable in that situation because we don't know how to just accept our bodies to be still.
Right. It's like paranoia. I've seen people have panic attacks and just run out of class.
Yeah.
And it is crazy because that same person, you tell them to, put their head down and do the work and suffer in this thing. Like you mentioned, being uncomfortable. We have no problem leaning into a certain kind of discomfort. But as soon as, you have to be raw with yourself, then we're like, I don't know if I can be in my own skin, you know?
Yeah.
But also it's hard to hold static positions if you're not used to it. There's a couple of positions that you have to hold. It's so hard if you're not used to that stuff. So it is physically can be very, very challenging as well.
Yeah.
Just because it's such a different sensation in the body. And
it's a telltale sign of you see someone come into a yoga class who is straight out of the weight room and they're shaking through all these static postures. Could be a sign that there's not a lot of stability going on within those joints. And then the reality is that these static postures are going to increase your blood pressure, so it's going to be a little bit more uncomfortable.
Well, what I actually notice is I notice a lot of the smaller muscles when I'm trying to stabilize. I really feel obviously the muscles in my feet, in my ankles, everything that I don't usually feel.
Right.
I feel because I'm in a position of instability. Things are activating that I don't usually notice, and I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, and that's a good point because it some people, especially straight out of the weight room where you're really strong in one capacity, you come into this and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna sit there and be wobbly. So there's a little bit of that ego of doing something that I'm not necessarily good at. But then, and what I want, why I love speaking to you and be working in this environment where it's always kind of translating these mechanics to the performance of all of these other things. There's so much benefit. That's a great example where the squatting mechanics improves by balancing on your feet and letting all of those intrinsic muscles that we don't normally use in compound lifts go. And
you made an important point there. It's kind of you have to get used to the sensation of being weak again or being weak at what you're doing. And I think that comes with with maturity. I think
it's the beginner's mindset.
Yeah.
Are you willing to learn?
You have to be willing to learn again.
Something different, something that you're not good at.
Yeah, and to walk into something that is going to be maybe an antithesis to what you're doing, as in a totally different way of going about it, and that it's going to be just as, if not more uncomfortable than what you're used to doing.
Yeah.
So just to circle back before we get deeper down this road, so you were doing the yoga, you were practicing. At what point did that translate into, this is going to be a career for me?
Yeah, so whenever I was practicing, it was the one consistent thing in my life. Even with how much I just was in love with acting at the time, it never wavered. There was never a question of if I would go to a yoga class today. It was just automatic. That's what I wanted to do. I knew I had to do it. Just this really deep, like desire to practice. And so with that and the lack of finances I was getting from my acting career, I decided to do the teacher training to have that financial stability to kind of just support my career at the time. And really just fell in love with the human body in a way that I hadn't before. You know, I always knew that I loved movement, but then learning the anatomy, learning the mechanics.
Yeah, you've been on a deep dive now. So what year was this?
When I that was
first teacher training.
2015.
Okay. 2015 this starts, and I'm telling you guys, like it has not stopped. Like she is on a mission to learn as much as humanly possible, and I feel like you are always in school and always on the next course and always on the next thing, because this like sparked all of this wonder and curiosity and excitement.
And like a big part of it was, okay, I started teaching, and you know, it's part of the learning process where you just kind of regurgitate things that other people say. But it got to a point where I was repeating things, and I was like, I'm a person, I really want to know the why behind everything.
Do I even believe what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, wait, does this even make sense? Why am I saying this? This is exactly what the person said before me. And it was kind of getting in the way of my confidence, because I didn't feel like I actually knew what I was doing. And I wanted to be delivering information that was based in science, that was actually true. I wanted to be healing people's bodies and not hurting them. And then I had an injury, like a slight shoulder injury. And at the time I found Pharos. And my kind of intention with it was, okay, I want to get stronger to prevent this injury from getting worse. And so started coming here, like immediately fell in love with it. And at that time also, I was like, I'm gonna give myself a break from acting. It was just causing me a lot of stress, going down a dark path that was not good. And found out that there was so much more to learn about fitness and about movement here. And I was like, no, this is, okay, I have to do something about this. And I just had the best summer ever, learning from all the coaches here, moving my body in ways that I hadn't moved it before, lifting heavy things, gaining muscle that I literally did not know could happen. I thought it was genetically impossible for me.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was like, tiny. I don't know if you go back and see pictures of me. It's like bones and some skin.
Right. And you were like, that's just me.
Yeah.
Cool.
So after all this happened, I was like, I think I'm just going to go back to school and like kinesiology and physical therapy, like very inspired by Emily and her master's in exercise science. So yeah, I owe a lot to Pharos in my education journey.
Oh no, you. I feel like I said this before we started rolling, that one of my favorite things about Lindsey is that she just asks a lot of questions. Like we just did a coach's development of how to assess and address common movement dysfunctions in a group setting, and I just love that. Like every topic and every everything we went down, Lindsey thought about thoroughly, because she had several questions, and it was like back and forth and like, well, what about this, and like, what about these outliers? And I'm like, yes, let's talk about the outliers, you know, let's talk about it all, and let's leave a lot of room for more wonder and more questions, because that is really how we like figure it out and solve these problems, as opposed to just going down the path of what, you know, a case study that we learned in college taught us, or like the path that I'm supposed to go down.
Yeah, and I mean, outliers are my favorite because there's far more outliers than I think we realize. And like, yes, there are these specific ways that you're taught how to teach or how the body moves. But whenever you like dissect a human being, whenever you just talk to a human being, we are all so unique. The way we move is so unique. In an ideal world, I want to have a full body x-ray of every single person that I'm coaching, because I just have no idea what's going on inside.
I always say though, we can't see inside, right? So like there's this scope of our practice that we have to work within, and we cannot see what is inside. And so all we can go on is movement, and movement really is that blueprint of your body, and it does give you a lot of feedback, especially the more nitpicky you are and the more you start to ask questions, and you know, the more curious you are. So I feel like that's definitely like your journey is definitely from your own sense of wonder and curiosity and always asking questions. But it's been really fun to see it firsthand, to be like, oh, what are you learning now? Wait, what? You're back in school? What is even happening?
Well,
Thank you.
What I love about Lindseys Journey is, as well, is it's very reflective on what we want Pharos to be, right? It's that place where, you know, we don't just teach one thing. We believe in the multiplicity. We believe in multiple disciplines. We believe that, you know, there is space in everyone's like workout schedule for all these different disciplines. And just as you found, you know, you started with yoga and then you found strength training and you found all these other things. There are a lot of us out there that found strength training, and now we're finding yoga and repair and other practices like that. Some of it because, you know, you can get away with ignoring that stuff for a while, but in the end it always catches up with you, because you develop imbalances, you develop tightnesses, you develop injuries because you are not flexible enough, you're not mobile enough, you haven't done the work necessary to deal with your imbalances.
Yeah, the foundational work.
The foundational work. So your journey is very kind of reflective of, you know, what we're trying to do here.
Thank you.
So you're now in the place where you do, you know, you kind of do a little bit of everything, right? You're doing your strength training, you still practice yoga, you're doing the repair stuff that you worked on with Emily, and so forth.
And you're in school.
So
you're juggling a lot.
Juggling a lot.
You're wearing a lot of hats right now.
Yeah. For the people out there that are listening to this that were already training, you know, maybe they're training 5 or 6 days a week, how do you get them to like build yoga into their lifestyle? I mean, I know that before COVID, we had our Saturday morning burger, which worked so well for me. It's not a real thing.
It's called flow, guys.
It's flow. It's not burger.
Like only boys would come to the Saturday
But we
morning
all-
class.
yeah.
You just all corralled. It was so funny.
I corralled a bunch of meatheads to come with me to Lindsay's Saturday morning flow class.
It was all Piet. It wasn't me.
And then I called it burger.
Can't squat past parallel? Join me Saturday. 8 a.m.
And yeah, so that really worked for us, because we do the flow and then we go and work out afterwards, and it's perfect. So
Yeah.
how do we get more people to do this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, find a great leader like Piet. But I think it's true. Like, whenever you see someone like Piet, who has been lifting his entire life and is very dedicated to that and very great at it, begin to diverge into something completely different, then it's like, oh, that's an example that people will follow. And I mean, it takes an intelligent person like you to, first of all, know how beneficial it is to incorporate something like yoga into your fitness program. And so it's really just spreading the word of like how this benefits all of it. And, you know, if you want to get injured, do the same thing every day. You know, like that's the bottom line. You want to get injured, do 100 repetitions in a row of any exercise. Guarantee you it's over from there. So variability, that is the way to, your body's supposed to move, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the way to prevent injury.
Yeah. Do you think, in terms of the discipline of yoga and to really feel the benefits of it, how often should you be doing it? How often could you be doing it? And how much is too much?
I'll start from the last. So too much is every day. Too much is twice a day, which I know some people who do that. You know, there's no scientific, or at least I'm not aware of any scientific research behind like how much you should be practicing.
Other than maybe elbow tendonitis caused by too much vinyasas. Like
Correct.
you might see some case studies of like
but the
overuse.
exact amount of practice you should be doing, anecdotally speaking, I think 2 to 3 practices per week is like more than enough. if you're new to it, once a week would be amazing, you know, if you've never incorporated it.
Right, like just start. Pete just asked, like, what is it going to take to get people to try it? And it's like, yeah, just try it. Just say yes. Just like showing up is 90%, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I think like for me, it's like just find a time and find a space where you can commit once a week to go and do this thing. And you're going to the gym anyway because you can do that session. So, you know, incorporate it into your day. And
bring a friend.
Yeah.
You know, it's always easier when you do something for the first time if you have a partner to try it out with.
Absolutely. Or just accountability in general, like whether that's from a coach, whether that is from a friend, whether that's because you know you're just going to a class that starts at a certain time and you reserve for it, so you better get there.
Yeah. So I think also like any of these things, like it's possible to get addicted to it, right? You know, people get addicted to it.
I was there for sure.
And there's a problem with too much mobility, just as there's a problem with not enough. Just like there's a problem with doing too much CrossFit, or there's a problem with doing too much
of anything.
Yes.
Like, there's a point where you have to step back and say, okay, like what is the point where this is working for me, and what is the point where this is now being detrimental to my.
And I think it's okay, you know, we are naturally pendulum swingers. That's what people do, right? They're all like, I do a million intros. I have done almost every intro of every person who has ever come to the gym. And one of the things that everyone says is like, well, I have this all or nothing mentality. So I'm really good. And then you know, if I give up once, then it's like I'm on a hiatus.
But wouldn't you agree that that's why they give up?
Well, yeah.
Because it's like all in one thing.
But
if you like dispersed your energy in different areas.
But I think my point is that like it's okay if you do that, right? Like you had to go down the rabbit hole of you did 2 hour, you know, you did 2 practices, and in your brain you thought it was okay for a while, and then your body caught up to your brain and your mind caught up to everything to be like, whoa, this is not healthy mind, body, or spirit. So we need to kind of scale back. And so like, you know, using those like if you are an extreme person, you know, try out the other side of that pendulum and just see how that goes. Because chances are we're going to find our way to that like equilibrium that we're all kind of hoping to work on and for.
But that's an interesting point as well, the pendulum thing, because I think one of the reasons why this gym exists is so that you can stop the pendulum. So you can, because obviously there are a lot of studios out there that just do the one thing. Someone joins that studio, they have a membership to that studio, so they use the hell out of that studio because of the membership, but they're just doing one thing to get their money's worth, and then they're doing too much of the same thing. You know, we saw that problem, which is why we kind of developed this multiplicity, because we're like, well, we don't believe that anybody should just do one thing again and again and again and again. In order to live a sustainably healthy, fit, strong life, you need that balance between strength, mobility, condition, you know, all these different things that are really going to, you know, in the long term, be of benefit to you and keep your membership valuable.
Yeah, and I'd also love to comment on, you know, it's easy to talk about just the physical benefits, but the like neurological kind of component to it is huge in terms of that all or none mentality and the variations. So for instance, for me, I was practicing only yoga and then doing some hiking and running. And on like more of a serious personal note, I'm pretty prone to depression. And when they say yoga is grounding, it's true. Like it's very true. And practicing yoga that much was I was real grounded, let's just say that. Right. And so it's the same for someone who's constantly doing these high intensity interval training classes or only strength training year round. That stimulus, it's too much, you know, the like stress component of that.
Right.
Yeah, and that goes for every program, right? We talk about that in the strength training programs. That's why we do 3-week cycles. And like you're not just doing one thing because the stimulus has to change. Exactly. And it's not just so that what that does to your muscles and to your body, but what that's actually doing to like your brain and your mental state and how it is that you're dealing with things or adapting to things or your fight or flight response. And very interesting.
Yeah, and on another note of neurological, it's like adaptation that comes with trying something new. You know, you're growing new neural pathways, which I love that stuff. And that's like one of the tickets to living longer and like keeping your brain from like degenerating as you
Absolutely.
age.
Yeah.
So how are you finding that balance now? So you've lived on the pendulum, and how are you finding that balance?
I mean, it never gets easier, I don't think. I think it's constantly checking in. I don't know if I want to say I have an addictive personality, but I do have tendencies to be obsessive and compulsive at times. So this past year has really taught me that it's okay to take rest, like 2 days of rest every week, which I've never done before. I was usually a 6-day or 7-day a week exerciser. And then, of course, after everything I'm learning in my degree program, like rest is so necessary for progression.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that really answers your question, but it's...
So you're training 5 days a week. You're taking 2 rest days.
Yes.
And you're practicing yoga.
Yeah, how are you finding the balance of maybe I'll say mechanic strength and conditioning, because sometimes I saw your face go to be like, my yoga practice, because we've talked about this all throughout the pandemic of just like, the practice what we preach, and we know how important it is because we know how hard it is for us, and if it's hard for us, then it's hard for everybody. But mechanics, self-care, that type of thing, how are you balancing out mechanic strength conditioning?
Yeah, so for me right now, it's a lot of focus on stress levels. So my workouts have become less intense over the past few months. I need more energy. I need more sustainability throughout the day, so I'm not crashing at like 2 o'clock. So I'm personally on more of a hypertrophy program for my strength training, and then incorporating more steady state cardio while always doing some sort of mobility work,
Or
whether
like
it
physical
be
therapy. You're very much in corrective exercise mode. I see you in the corner doing all of your, that's why I was like, mechanics, give yourself some credit, because you're doing a lot, even if it's not fitting into a flow.
Yeah, and like taking just moments, even if it is just a 5 or 10 minute meditation, whenever that fits into my day.
Yeah, Lindsey also does sound bowls, and over quarantine we did a 21-day mobility and meditation challenge, and she graced us with her sound bowl presence, and it was amazing. I think we've now, if you want it, if you want that sound bowl experience, I feel like after this podcast hits, people are going to be like, come to Flow.
Maybe I'll bring them in one day. Give you a little treat.
I think you should.
Yeah, so I love what you were saying about the kind of mindset thing and the parasympathetic, and because it is for some of us, and I know a lot of people like listen to us, they're busy people, they maybe they own businesses, they just have busy jobs, they're working out, everything's like intensity, and just to be able to like get into that parasympathetic mode is difficult at times, and I know that I struggle with it. But what I loved about your classes, and what I love about Flow and Repair is it does allow me to just be at peace and just breathe and not think about anything else. Because like I said, this stuff's challenging, like Emily's Repair or your Flow is very challenging for me, but it allows me to just be in that moment and not think about like a ton of other stuff. So it's a really good headspace for me, because I do really struggle with like meditation or anything like that. I find it sounds ridiculous, but I find it hard to find the time or to dedicate the time to it that I should. But I find it a lot easier in a group setting where I'm almost forced into it. So
exactly,
it's funny. And it's like he started a gym with the group environment because he's motivated by it.
It's like, but that's what I need. Like I need to be like amongst people who are doing it. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen for me.
Well, I think that's why yoga works too. Like that's why you see so many people in a yoga class or like someone who has a membership to just doing yoga, because the instructor literally tells you exactly what to do the entire time. I'm talking for a full hour. You don't say anything. You close your eyes. You can even like wander off into wherever. And
it's nice to not make conversation for a while, just to be silent.
Exactly. To just listen.
Listen. Yeah.
That's a skill.
Especially when you listen to a voice as soothing as yours, Lindsey.
Thank
you. Very calming.
It's very true. Did you notice what I did there? I tried to go
Yeah.
down. It didn't work. Everyone noticed.
Okay, Brandon, have you got your clock? Yes. It's that time, my friend.
It's that time.
It's the 1 minute. It's the 1 minute challenge.
The 1 minute challenge.
Okay, Lindsey, the 1 minute challenge.
Oh no.
So in this 1 minute, we're going to think about purpose. I want you to think of 3 words that fit into your purpose. You don't have to define your entire purpose. You don't have to give me a paragraph, but it's 3 words that if you were to tell someone what your purpose would be, those 3 words would be in that definition.
For life or for fitness or
For life.
Ooh, for life.
For life.
How you do one thing is how you
What-
do all the things.
What is your what is your
See,
purpose?
the outliers. I love her.
What is your purpose on this planet? And what are the 3 words that fit in your purpose? You ready?
Okay.
Do you want a pen and paper in case you want to make any notes?
Um,
Emily's gonna, while you're doing it, Emily's gonna hum a tune. Ready? 3.
What's my
You
purpose?
got 1 minute. Yeah. Just 3 words.
Oh
3
my
words,
God.
Lindsey. 3, 2, 1. You got plenty of time.
Okay.
Here we go.
Purpose
Ticking.
is.
Don't answer yet though.
Oh.
We've got a whole minute to think about this.
Oh. Okay.
What is this one to?
Well, I'm kind of going on a riff here, but it's the classic waiting song, right? And then I'll do a key change.
Please do. I'm sure everyone's waiting for it.
No, I can't. No, I'm blushing. I can't.
Oh God. How's Lindsey supposed to think about her purpose with all this going on?
It is. I was like, instead of having him have to edit this overlay of the song, you know.
Emily's left music.
Yeah, I'm literally in tears here. I just want you to know.
In 3,
ding, ding, ding,
2,
ding,
1, and time's up, Lindsey. Time's up.
Okay.
Okay. Number 1. What do we got?
Connection.
Ooh, good one.
Very
Do you want
good.
to delve into
Yeah,
that
do you
word
wanna
a little bit?
elaborate?
Elaborate a little bit.
Although I feel like
Connection
this entire podcast-
to breath, connection to self, connection to nature, connection to other people, connection to the higher power that is the universe, that is energy,
Love that.
consciousness, just everything.
Love that.
I got chills just
Yeah,
saying
that's
it.
great. Number 2.
Number 2 is, it's hard to put into a word, but I think it's like maybe just being an example,
Example. That's a good
like
one.
projecting lightness, positivity, and overcoming challenges so that people can see the possibility and what they have also within them to overcome.
Love it. Connection, example. Number 3.
And then also like education.
Yeah.
Just a growth mindset.
Love it.
Yeah, what was the thing that you
I wrote
out?
it said project.
Oh yeah, and then
So-
you had the example.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
didn't know how to put it into a word.
Well,
Right.
dare I say, leader.
Leader.
Leadership.
Leading by
Yeah.
example. Yeah.
It's such a hard thing to. You're like, well, I
Being
don't
the
call myself
outlier.
that. Right, but leading by example and asking. Of course, I was waiting for the education piece where it was like, never stop learning.
Yeah.
yeah, that
Yeah,
you're
I think
never
it's
done.
so important. It boosts your confidence. It allows you to educate the entire world. Like, that's one of my biggest things. I'm not learning things so that I can keep it to myself.
Right.
I'm learning so that I can educate everyone else who either doesn't have the ability or accessibility to become educated, or especially in terms of the human body, there's so little that people know about what they're walking around in, you know?
So many intricacies.
Yeah.
To explore.
So if I can help you understand the way you move, the way you feel, oh my God, I think that's huge.
It's funny as well. I don't know if I've talked about this in the podcast before, but for a period of my life, I worked in a hotel, and I would just I would just stand at the front of the hotel. I was the bellboy, effectively. I would just take people's bags up to their room and bring them back down. So there was no mental stimulation whatsoever. And I did this for a really long time. And at that point,
Didn't you say you did it for like 7 years or
yeah, it was
something?
like, it was a long
Overhearing it, I was like, that's a long
Yeah.
And it was funny because I didn't realize that my brain was dying, but my brain was dying. I wasn't like learning anything. I wasn't educating myself at that time. I wasn't reading a lot. And it was just like, you know, it was probably the lowest like point of my life in terms of like how I felt about myself or how I felt I was doing kind of thing. You know, you used the word depression before, and I probably was in a kind of depression, like, and a lot of that was from the simple fact that I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't educating myself. I didn't have confidence because I wasn't like learning anything. And so I like even now, like when I read a chapter of a book and I learn something, like I'm immediately stimulated. I'm immediately uplifted. I feel better about myself, about my sense of purpose, about what I can communicate to other people, how I can help spread that message or that knowledge or whatever it is. So I think that's such an important thing.
Especially when you're feeling low, like service and knowledge are such uplifters. Like serving somebody else, you know, my mom always says like every day is an opportunity to be a blessing to somebody else, you know. But it's true. And she would say that having undergone a ton of like physical pain. My mom's had every like physical trauma under the sun, and she always says that. And I know that comes from a place of like, in order for her mind to stay right, she focuses on service. And you focus on service, you focus on education, you focus on how can I pay this forward. And then it becomes something beyond yourself. And then it doesn't, you know, yes, you'll have bad days, you'll have bad seasons, you'll have bad times, but you know that like your purpose isn't just wrapped up into that season, you know.
Exactly.
And it does never stop. Like you can never stop learning enough. Like there will never be enough to learn. Like,
limitless.
Yeah, it
that's
really is.
what it means.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Lindsey, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you've got to run off and coach, but it's great to talk to you. And I'm so excited to see more of flow and repair at Pharos Athletic Club as we move forward from this point. We've missed it. I've missed it. I've missed my broga. I can't wait to get it back. And we're so glad to have you here with us as part of the team.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Love you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, guys. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Lindsey, where can people reach you? How can they find you?
Oh, they can find me on Instagram
Can
at Piet. Do you want to give it away?
At Lindsey Loves Living.
I love that handle.
Yeah, that's what I say. Good morning, Lindsey Loves Living. How are you? That's how I know her.
Hi, man, you're quite a brand when someone calls you by your full Instagram handle.
Yeah. It's, I don't know about it.
You know, it's funny, very side note, but when we first started Pharos, you remember our PR person came up to us and they were like, you need to change your Instagram handle. It needs to be your first and last name. None of this cutesy stuff.
I know.
I remember I was mobility gains at the time, and I'm like, but come on, you know.
Mine was my first and like partial last name.
Wagyu.
Just Wag.
Wag.
Lindsey Wag.
Yeah. It's like all, well, never mind. I shouldn't say that.
You know what wags are in the UK?
Not a clue.
Wags are wives and girlfriends of football players. So it's like footballers' wags.
I'd be that.
Interesting. On that note.
On that educational note. All right, guys. We will see you next week, guys. Thanks again for listening in. Remember, we are now open, and you can come and train with us. You can come and see the facility. We are on 1316 Glendale Blvd in Echo Park. We're super excited for 2021. We've got some great stuff going on here. I think you guys are going to love it, so come on by and see us. You can also go to our website at, do you want to say, Emily?
Well, I mean, it's in the show notes, but jointhepack.fit.
Jointhepack.fit.
Find us on the World Wide Web. Join us live. Join us some virtual stuff. You can work out with me and Pete.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. I have a good time.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, guys, we will see you soon. Take care. Thank you.